Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is January 19th, 2025, and it's been revealed the person who was in charge of scoring or reviewing the refereeing between Barcelona and Getafe. I want to say it's going to shock you, but at this point, I don't think there's anything shocking anymore. Also, Dani Olmo is injured, and finally, Eric Garcia is one step from leaving Barcelona during this winter transfer market. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo and we'll begin this video by discussing the horrendous refereeing that happened in the match between Barcelona and Getafe. As you might recall, there was a clear penalty on Jules Koundé in the 80th minute where the Getafe defender hugged him from the back, prevented him from getting to where the ball was headed. And not only did the referee not call a penalty, but he didn't even bother going to check it at the VAR. And this, of course, has caused a lot of uproar in the footballing world because it was a clear penalty. And don't take it from me because I'm just a random guy screaming at his camera, but instead take it from actual referees, former La Liga referees, who all had to say the following. Iturralde Gonzalez, which is, an absolute legend in the refereeing, Spanish refereeing, had to say, for me, it's a penalty because he grabs him. Pedro Martin, another former referee, says there is a grab and it is a fairly clear penalty. And then Javier Estrada Fernandez, another former referee, said it is an obvious penalty. And I do not understand why González Fuertes did not signal it, nor why the VAR did not intervene. So again, if this is not proof that that was a clear penalty, I don't know what is. These are actual former La Liga referees who are familiar with the rules, who have refed for many, many years, all telling you this was a clear penalty. What makes all of this worse is that in December, Real Madrid faced Getafe, and we had the same exact scenario where a Getafe defender held Rudiger with one arm, not with two, like Jules Koundé. And yet the referees called for a penalty, but against Barcelona, that was not the case. And I think that makes things much, much worse. Now, the person who was in charge of reviewing the refereeing between Barcelona and Getafe, it's no other than Yolanda Rodriguez. And you might say, well, who's this person? Well, this person is actually a member of the Royal Spanish Football Federation's board member. She was recently chosen by Rafael Luzan. She was, again, the person in charge of reviewing the refereeing of Pablo González Fuertes, who's the one who ref between the match between Barcelona and Getafe. And, well, it's a bit scandalous because she's actually married to Carlos Mejia Davila. Now, if you don't know who Carlos Mejia Davila, he's a former referee who works for Real Madrid. He's a liaison for Real Madrid. So here we have a Madridista who works for the club, for Real Madrid, who's married to Yolanda Rodriguez, who is in charge or partly in charge of the CTA, and who's also the one in charge of reviewing the refereeing between Barcelona and Getafe. And while you say, Mo, why is this relevant? Well, it's relevant because this is a clear conflict of interest. Here we have someone who's married to a Real Madrid employee representing the Royal Spanish Football Federation and in charge of the refereeing for a Barcelona match. Now, let's not forget the Negreira case, right? Barcelona had hired Enrique Negreira, a former referee. They were paying him, and that was a big deal, right? Because there was a conflict of interest there. Barcelona were paying someone who was the vice president of the CTA, and yet this woman married to someone who's being paid by Real Madrid, and no one says anything. Now, I'm not saying that this is kind of form of corruption or she's on the payroll or anything, but it's a clear conflict of interest. So why is she allowed to do this, to review the refereeing between Barcelona and Getafe? Of course, no one is going to talk about this. Now, speaking of the match between Getafe, Barcelona have announced that unfortunately Dani Olmo has suffered an injury to his right leg. They have not set a time of return. They've said that, his return will depend on how his injury progresses or how his healing progresses. But however, reports are stating that he could be out for 10 days. And of course, he will be ruled out for the Champions League this Tuesday against Benfica. Of course, bad news for Barcelona. And this, I think, is starting to worry me a little bit because I think this is, fourth, fifth injury for Dani Olmo. And of course, Dani Olmo has always been a player who's been injury prone. But nonetheless, is worrisome because, when Barcelona signed Dani Olmo in the summer, they signed him with, the idea that he would be the big star signing. He would be a cornerstone of Hansi Flick's project, someone that Barcelona had to sell assets in order to register him, and he's constantly injured. So this is a problem, but, hopefully maybe Hansi Flick and his staff can find a solution for Dani Olmo's injuries the same way they found a solution for Pedri. Now, the next bit of news is in regards to Eric Garcia, who, ladies and gentlemen, is one step away from moving to Girona. Now, as we've been talking about these past days, Girona are keen on signing Eric Garcia. In fact, they confirmed it, saying that they're very interested in signing him. And well, now it seems that the negotiations have begun between Barcelona and Girona for the permanent transfer of Eric Garcia. It seems like that right now both clubs are finalizing the last bit of steps, the last few, points on the contract, and it looks like Eric Garcia will be leaving in the next few days to go back to Girona, where he had a spectacular run while he was there on loan, and in fact he was one of the reasons why Girona had that incredible run last season, where they finished top 4 and they ended up qualifying for the Champions League. Now, it's reported that Barcelona will be agreeing to a 10 million euro transfer, or if they can't agree to that, they'll agree to a loan with an obligation to buy at the end of the season. But one thing is for sure is that Eric is headed to Girona, and most likely he will be ruled out of the match against Benfica. Usually when players are about to leave, they get excluded from the squad list. That way they don't get injured in the last minute, and then boom, the whole deal falls apart. Now, Hansi Flick is reportedly against this move. He doesn't want to lose anyone, even though he doesn't really count on Eric Garcia, because of course he wants as many players available to him as possible. But we know Barcelona need to clear space on their wage bill, especially since they're trying to sign Marcus Rashford on a loan until the end of the season. Now, speaking of signings, it's been revealed that during the summer, Deco was negotiating with Chelsea the signing of Carney Chukwuemeka, the 21-year-old defensive midfielder at Chelsea. As you know, Chelsea has been having excess of players because every transfer market they sign 1 million players. And given the need for Chelsea to offload players, Deco contacted them and was in negotiations to sign Chukwuemeka for the defensive midfield position. But then with the explosion of Marc Bernal and Marc Asado, Barcelona ended up not moving forward with this signing, which of course begs the question, and it's something I want to hear you guys comment below. Would you guys have liked to see Carney Chukwuemeka Barcelona? Let me know down below. Now, the last bit of news is not necessarily directly related to Barcelona, but it is related to a Barcelona legend, which is Neymar, because it's been reported that the negotiations have already begun with Santos for Neymar to go back to where he started, where his career all started. So it looks like Neymar will be headed back to Brazil. His father was negotiating with MLS teams, but it seemed that Neymar was insisting on he wanted to make as much as Leo Messi. So, of course, the MLS teams were not willing to pay that. So it looks like he is headed to Santos, or at least it's not final yet, but negotiations have begun for Neymar to go back to Santos. And I'm actually kind of excited about this move because I remember watching Neymar when he played for Santos. He was an absolute beast. Of course, back then he was still young. He was still hungry. But nonetheless, it'll be really cool to see Neymar back at his boyhood club. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. I uploaded another video before this one, so make sure to check it out. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, Visca Barça.